So today I want to discuss briefly violence and culture. Now, our culture is a result of our experience, constant feedback for what we're accepting into our lives and what we haven't accepted into our lives, and how we've rebelled against the Creator and His will for us. Now, as a practicing yogi, I have a lifestyle that constantly reminds me when I chant to God, I chant to goodness and the kind of actions that promote happiness for me. And in Scripture, in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Yoga Sutras, and all of these scriptures, the sameness occurs. What's in our heart is the same as what's etched in the words in the Scripture. So what's in the Scripture is in our hearts, and what's in our hearts is written again and then delivered to us through the prophets. But God has already given us the will and the ability to do right. And right promotes happiness. So because we've lost our way, we've created culture around the lifestyles that we've chosen that have affected us in a very negative way. So our brothers and sisters in the community who are being shot, killed, and being treated and abused by our own brothers. And we have a thirst for what's happening with our public figures, but not what's happening in our community. When I think about the things that are going on in our community, we are not returning to God because of them. They're not forcing us to go back and re-examine our lifestyles, our cultures. There's a piece of our culture that is destructive. And I think that we, as black people, have to weed it out. I think each A&R director who is black, this whole discussion that some white A&R director or music maker is telling black people to say destructive things, they can't tell them to say anything good or bad. But some of the black A&R directors have the power to speak to people and ask them to talk more from their heart, their higher self. Higher selves are waiting to come out of us, putting in the street. I mean, mostly you cannot tell an artist what to say, but when you can, and if we can, help to shift our culture, each of us has the duty to do so. So this is my message to the music community, is that those who can make a difference should. And those who have, all of us have a better half and a not so good half. Those who are reaching for the better half can write a song that's inspiring and uplifting, instead of the other song that just comes frivolously and has no benefit to society. We can do better. Their community up through their words and their poetry and their actions, and protecting each other from the most destructive elements in our community. This is not a foreign idea. This is taught in the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Yoga Sutras. It's taught in the Buddhist text. This is what the prophets came to tell us. And when we overlook the prophets and their words, we're missing what's already etched in our heart. They're here to remind you of who you are. And it's your turn to stand up as individuals, if not through community. And then let's move to community. There's such amazing religious organizations in the black community and people who leave those communities in those churches and go out into the world and do good. But because of their adherence to God, that they are a certain way. Go and get reintroduced to their higher selves, and they work for us and serve the communities where they exist. This is what we want from each of us, to grow towards God. Every time a young person is misled and an old person encourages or supports that, it's selfish, because the older person knows better. I mean, most every time we grow, you notice the older rappers always say the most positive things, because those older rappers have grown through the ranks and have gotten the scratches on their arms for going the wrong way. When you go the right way, there are no scratches. This is what we want for our people, to go back to God, And we want for the people in our communities to support their efforts, and the people in our music companies to support their efforts. The number of people who are dying in our streets every week. And it's almost the chickens coming home to roost, because as the artists reflect this reality, they exude and open themselves up for the dirt that they're sharing. Not in any individual case, but there is a huge undercurrent of darkness. And those who want to move it in the right way can move it in the right way with their efforts. Barbershops engage in a process to eliminate beefs and stop them before they escalate. This has to continue, and we have to look to those programs in our cities to support them. Back to the church. Or we come back to the imams in our communities. When we come back to God, then suddenly we become purveyors of good. And this idea of overlooking that, when you're young, you rebel. And when you get older, maybe you learn. The bridge building process. And this is what we're going to talk about, the bridge building. And what it is that we can do so that we can become more like our brothers and sisters in some cases, and learn to promote a more positive and uplifting community, so that we as individuals can join our community and find those in the community who are and of course in the black community there's a huge space, church going, loving, inspired, uplifted people. But we have to return to them. And we have to return to that which is promoted to us, that we know works, that's already etched in our spirit. Besides, religions, when followed properly, put people in order. This is why they're so important in many communities. People don't have the strength to look inside and find all of what God's messages are. They have to look in Scripture. And they sometimes have to look in community of all these right-acting people that they can join in right action. So that's why religion is important.